Hi, everyone. It's Ron here. I'm sitting here with Natalie. And what I wanted to do today is something a little different in that I wanted to show you what we're doing with the data that we mentioned at the last meeting, what we're trying to build with the AI, what we are building, should I say, with the AI. Well, it's right all in testing phase, a lot of licensing to do still and all the rest. But I wanted to give you sort of a heads up as to where we're going and why we're going there. And you can see it. The second part to the demonstration today is going to be sort of help us, where we're going to send you the links, which I think we already have. Give us suggestions of what questions we need to sort of expect, try them out. It's not going to be accurate a lot of the time because we haven't trained it on everything yet, but we want to continue the training as we go. So what I want to do today is start, before I show you the AI itself, some of the back end and why we're going there. I'm going to start with the specifiers page that we sort of developed a little bit further than last year, or a lot further. Am I sharing is a great question. Yes, I am. Just to confirm, Karen, can you see you are seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So right now I'm on the specifiers page, which is the link on the navigation on the website over here. And what we've done with the data for the specifiers is we reformulated and retabulated all the content that we have from factory, and that is all being revised at the moment, checked, double-checked, and respec'd. But all the data is now entered into, let's call it a database, in a manner that we can actually make it far more usable for specifiers. So the data is now filterable. So for instance, if a specifier came in here and said, they're looking to deal with everything related to metals, what it would do is automatically filter all the products that are tagged to metals with everything else, and the system that is applied to make that work to give it a 10-year warranty and with a cost per square meter. They can filter these by life expectancy, etc. They can see it, and they can straight away click on here and download the spec sheet if they wanted to. So it's all very, very filterable and immediately available to specifiers. So we now have data in a format that can actually be utilized in many ways. Just be aware that it's still being refined at the moment. It's sort of 95% accurate, right? Or maybe even 99% spot on, but there are still some tweaks here and there. The second thing I wanted to show you is something on the back end related to how many hits, this is your website, some of the stats on your website on the landing pages that people come to. And just to have a look on your /paint specials, it's 73,000 people or sessions, or 53,000 people. Your homepage is 18,000 over this period of time. And the third most hit page is your paint calculator. And then everything else. Excuse me, I'm just going to sneeze. Excuse me. All right, so you can see what's going on here is this paint calculator is what I wanted to briefly show you, that we don't even promote the paint calculator. It's getting that sort of traffic organically on our website. So how do we milk that? How do we get more out of that? If people want that content, how do we improve what's there and get more hits there? So I'm going to start off with the existing paint calculator. This is not AI driven at all. There's no AI involved. This is your current calculator. And I wanted to show this to you to show you where we are and where we're going to with AI, the calculator. So on your existing calculator, it's a very simple calculator where you can have a quick quote, you can ask for a quote on walls or roof, and it gives you a little bit different options. But let's just see on a quick quote. You'd pick a coating, let's say all coat, you put in 45 meters by 2.4, for example, and you're doing it on a smooth surface, and it tells you how much paint is needed, and you can email it to yourself and job done. It gives you a rough idea of what's going on. It's quite helpful, and it seems like people want to use that a lot. So if we take AI and apply it to this to some degree, we need to be far more detailed in the data that we have. So we started building a new one. I don't think anybody's seen this yet, but we started building a new one, which looks like this. So I'm going to go back to the calculator, just reload the page. I'm going to select again. I'm just going to select all coat as an example from the list. So this is all your products. Let's take all coat. It's a very simple calculator right now. Yes, we can add windows and doors and things like that. Right now, we're trying to demonstrate the purpose. I'm going to say it's a 30-meter wall by 2.6, and I want to do it on a rough surface and on all coat products. So a very simple form. We can make this more complicated. If I hit the calculate, now we utilize AI to give you a result. How does that help us? Or how does it help the person become a more usable calculator? Well, number one, it shows you the product all code, the details about the product that they're asked about with the product detail linked to the page. It shows you the calculation from the calculator. There's your spread rate, the earth surface area, and how many liters you need for that area. On top of that, it also shows you the paint costs pulled straight from the e-commerce site for 1 liter, 5 liter, 20 liter, where you can use it, the surfaces, interior, exterior, downloads of the data sheet, and even the video of this whole thing. Now, there's more we want to do with this as well, but this now makes it a far better answer than you need 24 liters. It gives you everything in this simple answer, and you can send this quote to yourself. And that send that result to myself would be quite helpful. And if you would like advice, it'll also tell us if they want advice, and we can phone them, would like a quote, all of this value-add information. So this is a calculator tool linked with an AI tool that we're training as we go. So I want you to show this to you because it's a big development as we go here. There's a long way still to develop, but this is the path for the calculator. And we're doing the calculator as one of the things, mainly because it's what the consumer wants based on data. This is the scientific data of what is actually happening. We're not guessing at this. All right, so that's the calculator. The next thing on AI that we're doing with Universal is a little bit more, let's call it interactive and fun. It's going to take a lot of training, and it's going to have a few mistakes with it right now. But it's a thing called, it's a chatbot, which you've all played with before. And the chatbot is beyond a ask a question, get an answer. It's a conversational chatbot where you can actually have an ongoing conversation. Every question you put in is not a new question. You can ask a question about waterproofing, as an example. It'll give you answers on that. Then you can follow on that question saying, well, what do you recommend for my roof? And it's going to remember the previous question and answer it based on previous, basically it's a conversation, two-way. So let's start with something simple and basic. I want to waterproof my roof. Waterproofing, let's put those words in. Waterproof. Bang. I'll put in a question mark. Now, interestingly, as this thing thinks, because it's a little slow right now, it's going to be until we've completely launched it. But the key here is that on the words waterproofing, we are training Universal Paint's model, this AI model, only on Universal Paint's products and products outside of Universal Paints that we want it to include. So we'll exclude things like we're not going to allow it to answer things on Dulux and Plascon. So in our case, we just ask the word waterproofing and we talk about Universal Paints products. We talk about Flexi Rubber, but we don't just talk about it. We also add a link to that product here as well in the answer. Acryl Proof, discussion link, and so on. So if there's any specific questions, you can contact the store, which would take you to an email address, or send it to an email, visit our product page or specifiers page. But now let's go a little further and say, okay, so I've asked a question on that, and you say, okay, but I have a tiled roof. If you do, maybe I don't say, okay, I have a tiled roof. What do I use? Now, the key here is that it should relate, that question on its own means nothing unless it's relating to the previous question. So I'm trying to show you, I don't know what the answer is going to be, but it should relate back to that question and follow on that conversation and give you an answer. So in this case, it's probably going to slim it down, hopefully, to the products that you should be using that. So there we go. For a tiled roof, we recommend using roof acrylic, etc., etc. Additionally, if you're looking for a more flexible option, and so on. So it takes you through, and we can actually tell it what the answers need to be, broad-based, not specific. We're going to cover absolutely every aspect. So there's those types of things that we've got in here, product-based. Now, give me a few other questions there. So what types of things?
Not necessarily paint, but let's say what store is closest to Germiston?
Germiston?
Yes.
Okay. Is it going to be able to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to ask a store what stores close to Germiston and see what answer it's going to give us from there. Maybe even give you the contact details, or it'll tell you it doesn't know where Germiston is. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Closest Universal is Bedford View. Store name, address, email address. Is that right? All correct. Okay, cool. So it gives you all the details and so on for that particular store. Let's do something at a typical, like, let's say.
Will it come up like now there it says Bedford View, hey, but it's the Broomer one, eh? I know the address is possibly correct.
Possibly. What I'm on the actual detail of this, Rowan, we got to build a lot of back end, let's call them reference spreadsheets. So because there's some history as well. We found something in Rosebank, of all places, that doesn't exist. We've cross-checked it with every other AI on the planet, but it still finds something to do with Rosebank. We've now managed to exclude that. And those are the
Now,
details.
so the back end of this info that you've got here, hey, is it live info? Is it just data you put together? Because I mean, there is no Bedford View at Universal Paints.
No, exactly. So it's making stuff up at the moment. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's making some. Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Is this just a demo that you've done, or is it actually trying to pull some real data?
This is if I give you some real data. So let's take something real. Is there a store? Let's do something we know there is a store. A store in Fourways. That should give us a real answer based on facts, and it should be referencing our main database of store information that's live.
But look, I mean, Bedford View, there is a store nearby. It should have just been the Broomer store.
Yeah. So what it's learned is that you use the word Fourways at universalpaints.co.za as the address. So when we asked about Bedford View or closest store, it's come up with Bedford View and put that in front of the address. So it's doing it. This is where the AI gets a little scary, and we've got to spend a lot of time.
I mean, if you put Bryanston, a store near Bryanston, it should come up with the Fourways.
Store near Bryanston. And this is where it's probably going to fall over again. It's probably going to make stuff up. Let's see. And this is what we have to train it hard on. You know, while this is happening, the other day there was a report on they were getting one AI, nothing about a Bryanston store. So it suggests there, I recommend checking our store locator, which you can find here. So you can go to the find, click on the button, and it'll take you to the store.
No, that's better.
Yeah. So it's going to do the right things when it doesn't know. And these are the training things that we have to do for it. It's going to be
that's better,
yeah. On that, the AI playing chess against the AI the other day. This is how scary it becomes. Whereas they put two AIs up against each other, and it's been an ongoing battle for over a year or two now, where they keep putting these two AIs together. Recently, what happened is the one AI knew all the rules of the game, but what it wanted, its challenge was to win. So what it ended up doing is going in through the back end onto the other servers, trying to hack into the server to get the other one to make a mistake so it could win. How's that? Frightening. These AIs are doing
it.
Okay. What is another thing like?
Best for high moisture areas.
Best paint for somebody asked something like that though. Okay, let's put it in. Moisture areas. Oh gosh, I'm actually I'm going to spell it wrong. What the hell? Let it be spelled wrong. See if it corrects it for me. So I'm going to ask something like that. Let's ask something about something that people like specify might ask as well, like low VOC paints or eco-friendly or something. So here we go. For high moisture, here we go. It spells it correctly. We recommend using a damp sealer. The product is specific, so it's given an answer with links to the product, etc., etc. So let's say, okay. Next question is, so I'm going to ask this one first. Your paints eco-friendly? Let's see what it does. So I'm doing all of this to give you a variety, because, you know, when we put this out to the marketplace, people ask strange things. And you kind of want to cover most eventualities, but you don't want them going outside of the environment that you want them to have answers on. So in this case, okay, wow, it's given us a nice rock solid answer. Yes, lead-free, low VOC, eco-conscious packaging, energy efficient. So it's picked this all up from the site, and it's given us a nice comprehensive answer. What else can you see?
Can you recommend a paint that will cover dark colors with fewer colors? Let's see,
Recommend a paint to cover
dark
dark colors
with fewer,
with less paint.
yeah.
Less paint. Okay. Hmm. So while this is going on, the purpose of this today is obviously show to you the direction where we're going. And what we'd like to do after this is share these links with you again, which I know go on the emailers every week. But we really invite you to suggest things that we should answer, typical questions that you might at the store might be asked, that you get from people. And if we don't have answers to them, let's write the answers and we'll train the AI on how to answer this. So in this case, we asked it about dark colors. To effectively cover dark colors with less paint, we recommend you our super cover range. What the hell is that? This paint is a specific form of excellent hiding. You can find more on a super cover here. Let's click and see where it goes. Good question.
But it's interesting to ask these questions and see what they come up with and how we can change it. Okay.
See, it's interesting. It's trying to make something up, but we'll train it on that. So we'll train it. If we want super cover, we might say anything related to high coverage areas. Then we want to take into our high, what do we call it? High hiding, whatever we call it, to a range of those and about our high hiding products. But there's
like an undercoat or something.
Yeah. So here's the training. So I think what you're seeing live happen here in real time is tests that we're doing, but you can't write an answer, direct answer to every possible question that's going to be out there. So the way this AI is working now and the way it's going to work in the future for us is we need to train it on the broad spectrum of things, make sure that there's a reference to, this is going to learn from the internet as well as what we're telling it. But we're going to limit it to say, well, you can't show products from Plascon and Dulux or Durham, for instance, because it's just...
Well, it says if you ask a question from one of those.
Fair enough. Let's ask that. Okay. So what question would you ask if it was a third-party product, right? Typical question.
So as you got here now, where you've got for hiding, I mean, they do have a super cover. Well, when they say super cover, they've got products that they call super cover, but that's just like almost like our super acrylics.
Okay.
The right product would actually be a primer, like they've got our universal primer.
So what's
but it shouldn't be the primer, it should be the universal undercoat.
Right. So what this AI has learned in this case is that there's a product called super cover, but they're not referencing it, talking about us still, because they're limited. So let's ask something directly. Let's say, how do your products...
So if you click on that primer, which one does it come up with?
Take that, the primer, which one?
Universal primer, right there.
This one here.
Yeah, the black one. Yeah.
Goes to your homepage still. So it's going to all products. It's not going to the primer itself. Let's just see.
Oh.
Actually, more about it here. Do you have any further products that specifies page? So yeah, it's trying to give you a generic. There's a super cover here. That's also going to your landing page. So it's the super cover becomes a very interesting question. So it's an area that we've got to have to train it on these types of questions. So you've got to cover a broad spectrum and then it learns the rest. But you can see the task that's at hand here to try and tackle this. This is going to be a big project, but it's going to be very powerful. Now, the next thing I've got here is, how do your products compare with Dulux? Maybe that's a question we might get asked. How do your products...
Or other paints.
How do other paints? How do other paints?
How do our products?
Yeah, thank you.
Or how do you... or universal.
Gosh, man. Products. Yeah. Compare. Wow. Different products compare with other paints.
Paints.
Okay. It's not our products.
Or the favorite is...
It should be your products. But let's see what it says. At Unilever, we pride ourselves on quality, but there we go. We regard as the best by test. Our paints are formulated to provide superior coverage, quality ingredients, hiding power, super cover. This is so interesting. There's hiding power. And this is, I've got to figure out how it's learning that. Eco-friendliness, that's accurate. Expert advice, that's accurate. 1982, that's accurate. Durability, etc., and so on. So it said something about best by test. How can you claim being best by test? Let's see what it says.
What is best by test?
Well, let's see what it says here, was we made the claim. Okay, the claim of being the best by test is based on rigorous testing and feedback from our customer industry professionals, independent testing, okay, customer feedback, okay, industry recognition, expert recommendation, continuous improvements.
Should have picked up that little
Yeah.
paragraph on the CSIR test, comparative test done on products.
The evidence of this. Let's just dive in a little bit further, and I won't hop on too long on this, but I think everybody's getting the idea. And then I want to go to just one or two practical questions, like let's just quickly see. Yes, there is evidence supporting the best by test, independent comparative study. Here we go.
By the Center for Polymer Technology, Tshwane University Technology. That's a bit wrong.
Across all tested categories, enamels, universe was found to be an average least expensive. Enough that the advertising standard of complaint from a competitor. Yeah, there we go. It's not bad. It's a pretty damn good answer.
No, it's just as you said, it's adding a bit of its own thing, eh?
Yes, it is. This is the thing. We'll have to tidy it all up. And it's always, we always have a little bit of a disclaimer. We need to, as we build it, but it can be a very useful. If I just think of a consumer, and I'll end it off, this part of it off with just 2 or 3 questions that a typical consumer might ask. I want to paint my house. What do I need to do? Okay, so I'm just asking a random, stupid, broad-based question, but it gives people a start that they can have a conversation with this thing. So what I'm trying to get through today is that this is not just a questions and answers like a directory of information like Google. This is a conversational tool that you can have an ongoing conversation with. So if you're talking about painting your house, choose a paint. It's actually giving you practical advice all the way through. Gather supplies, brushes, drop cloths, ladders, protect surrounding areas, primer, start paint. Actually, a whole solution as to how to do your painting. And then you can ask it the next question: what paints, what undercoats, and you can carry on the conversation with this thing, and then end up with some sort of outcome. So it becomes a very conversational tool. So that's what we're building at the more wanting to build. We built it to this point, haven't licensed everything in terms of buying license fees and usage fees and all the rest yet. But we wanted to build it to this point to do a demonstration demo like we're doing now as to where we'd like to take it. So that's really it on this particular topic. Let me just close that and that. And where we go here, branches we've done. That we've done, and the calculator we've done. All right, so I have covered all bases. So to finish off for today's discussion, we want you to show you what we've shown you. The calculator was a very key one, and I'm going to remind you that it's based on data, 3rd most popular landing page of the lot. So let's make it far more interactive with factual-based information as a result. And the factual-based information being literally from your data, from your spec sheets, from your sales sheets, from your website, etc. To do this, there's a lot of work, Ryan, as you know, required for making sure these things are actually correct. Because this information largely comes from the specifier sheets, and typically the spread rates are calculated, I think, based on that particular paint. But what is the cost per square meter with an undercoat? And then if they ask for a thing like this, should we show them a result saying 1 coat of all coats, or if it's new work, you've got to use one of these 2 undercoats with an all coats, and then your calculation costs. you can see how far we can go with this as a very good value-adding tool. And then references to all the data, technical data sheets and videos related to that inquiry. So that's it for today. I think in the next newsletter tomorrow, we'll have links to both of these for you to go and play with. And maybe if people can just give feedback to Natalie, list a bunch of questions or broad-based sort of concepts of what people might ask or do ask typically in your stores. And we'll try and work on those first and prioritize them. We'll group them into categories, which I'm sure there'll be a common sort of categories amongst the stores. And we'll prioritize those first. And then over time, let's try and get weird and wacky and really take this thing all the way. Our idea, and I'll float it today, is actually call this AI, let's give it a name. And the fact that we're using Katie for the emailers to consumers, maybe we use Katie, ask me anything, ask Katie anything type of thing. Or if other people have got better names to maybe use for the AI, just to suggest them, and then let's put them out there and see what people think. And that's it for today.
All right. No, quite interesting. You can see there's quite a bit of work to be done there.
Oh, yes.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I also think there's a lot of work to do, but one of the things that we did before we started all this is it wasn't just this is a great idea, let's go and do it, because the buzzword is AI. That was never the idea. The idea was, how can we leapfrog the major big brands in the country at the moment? So Dulux, Durham, Plascon, etc. They are big brands in the country and they are national, well, they're global in many cases. How do we leapfrog them as a brand while this market is as flat as it is in terms of paint sales nationally or down? Now, the only way to do it is doing something completely radical or different to what they're doing. We're not going to outspend them on national television or anything else. It's just not a thing. So how do we go about it? So we asked AI, and we worked with Gemini, Grok, Claude, and ChatGPT to do an analysis of what window of time we have to take over or leapfrog some of these brands or make deep inroads into some of those brands. And what we found out is the likes of Dulux actually are way ahead of most using AI already. So they've taken their app that they do for, you can mock up your house with the app, always have been able to, but they've implemented a lot more augmented reality using AI into that, and they're really making headroads with that. The likes of Plascon, however, are also using a lot of AI, but in a field that doesn't affect us, well, directly on the marketing side. What they're using AI substantially for at Plascon is they're utilizing it for the operation, stock control, chemical mixes, etc. But they're not applying it much on the consumer-facing side of things. And it's the same with Durham. So we've got a window of time using AI to leapfrog these guys on the front-facing stuff with consumers, which is where we need to be if we're going to build this brand, because we need to be on a leading edge or something to dominate an area. So aligned with what you've already done, Rowan, with the exhibitions to date with Innovatex and the Homemakers Fair, consumers and specifiers or professional market, the fact that we can follow that up in due course with something to do that are more AI related, where they can have chatbot discussions. You're taking that conversation, that trade show, and you're elevating another step and putting something unique in front of them that the other guys are stuck in a paradigm shift. They haven't been able to make that shift yet with their consumers. You can. And that's where the leapfrog word comes in, where if we go on this path, we believe that AI could be the change maker for Universal Paints to leapfrog the other brands.
No, I think it will be a good thing. I mean, the other thing in time to come, you could put these little things up in the store where people could actually in-store ask questions if they needed some advice.
Yes, there was a concept at that we rolled out a while ago at the top stores, Spar Tops, where we put on these touch screens, and the touch screens were about information database related to all the wines in the store. And one of the ideas was, and we did this, we rolled it out, it was years ago, but brilliant, where the database of wines said, okay, somebody takes a bottle of wine to this little tool, it scanned the QR code and it knew what product it was, And it told you more about the product, what winery it was at, how long it took, what they did, the unique aspects of it. And hey, by the way, it pairs well with these kinds of foods. And here's the recipes for those foods. Would you like me to email the recipes and ingredients or foods that pair with this wine for a dinner? And people engage with that. So now they're engaging with your store on a totally different level. And that's kind of where this type of thing goes.
Yeah. No, I think it can, when it works well, it can be great.
Yeah, we just got to refine it and be lots of data in writing, but we'll do it.
Excellent.
Thank
Good.
you. Thanks for your time. And we'll post this up onto YouTube soon, and it'll be on the email as a link tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
See you tomorrow. See you Friday.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Okay.